With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Attention, you're listening to the Todd Huff Radio Show, America's home for conservative, not bitter talk radio. Be advised that the content of this program has been documented to prevent and even cure liberalism, and listening may cause you to lean to the right. Here's your conservative, but not bitter host, Todd Huff.
My friends, I cannot take it any longer. The Dramacrats being Dramacrats, it is absolutely, positively off the charts. And it's not even good political theater. Yes, I'm still struggling with the voice from the Pacers game on Wednesday night that we attended. In fact, in some ways, I feel like I'm struggling more to project my voice today than I was even yesterday. Will not be going to Game 4 tonight. We'll be watching Game 4 on television and pulling hard for the Pacers to go up 3-1. We'll see what happens here. It's certainly possible for Oklahoma City to tie this up. Anything's possible in this series, but I am hopeful the Pacers will take a commanding 3-1 lead and head back to Oklahoma City for Game 5 on Monday, but who knows? Who knows what will happen here, my friends? But the left, listen, there's two big things I want to talk about today, and you probably know what they both are. And I decided to talk about Senator Padilla's performance, Dramacratic performance first, and then talk about Israel and Iran secondly. Just because when I saw the pathetic, very poorly orchestrated political theater yesterday, I saw that first and my mind was already preparing to talk about that. And then, of course, late last night, there were reports of Israel bombing Iran, which, by the way, that operation is devastating to the Iranians. We'll see what happens next. The Iranians have launched drones in response. We'll go through that probably in the next hour, my friends. I say probably because I don't think I'll get to it in the first hour here. So that's where we are headed today. Before we get too far down the path this morning and hit the ground running here, you know, one of the things that's crazy is that we spend more time, many of us do anyway, taking care of our automobiles, our cars, our trucks, than we do our hearts. Think about it. We change the oil, we rotate the tires, we keep everything running smoothly, maintenance checks, stickers in the corner of the windshield telling us that the mileage is due or whatever. The programmable monitor on the dashboard tells us, ding, 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 take your car in for the oil change. But when it comes to our health, many folks just wing it, or at least don't monitor it with the same level of focus and attention to detail. That's why, friends, I take Solti. Solti is an all-natural, clinically proven way to lower your cholesterol. It's a dietary supplement. It is safe. It has been proven by science. Science has spoken on this, that it lowers cholesterol. No prescriptions, no doctor's visits, just 2 salty soft gels a day. That's all it takes, my friends, to get your cholesterol in check and to keep your heart healthy. It's a great first step in that direction. So, you know your family depends upon you. You have lots of responsibilities and other folks depending upon you as well. We, of course, need you in this political fight. Do not put this off. Start taking care of yourself today. Salty.com is the website, SOLTEA. Promo code Todd will get you 50% off your first order and free shipping to boot. Salty.com, SOLTEA, promo code Todd. My friends, your heart deserves better, and so do you. All right, so let's talk about what happened yesterday. Yesterday, Kristi Noem was holding a press conference, and she was at the podium, and she was talking about the ICE raids in Los Angeles. And during the ICE raids, well, not during the ICE raids, during the press conference, an individual appears in the back of the room, the side of the room, I would say. It's Senator Alex Padilla. Alex Padilla decides, you may have seen this, you probably have seen this, I'm guessing. He begins to stand up and, starts yelling. I don't want to say he's yelling at the top of his lungs, but he is engaged in what I would call some very dramatic political theater. Not very good. His acting skills get 2 thumbs down. But as he proceeds, he's walking towards the podium and he's yelling. There are law enforcement, Secret Service. I saw one gentleman with an FBI vest at one point. I don't know which branch, department, whatever all these folks were with. I've heard Secret Service was involved. But regardless, they step in and physically block Mr. Padilla, Senator Padilla. This is California's finest. This is supposed to be a guy who is, elected to represent the state of California. Yelling towards Kristi Noem, acting like a bit of a lunatic, at least out of line. You know, it's funny as I tell this, I'll get to that, but it's funny as I tell this story how the left and the media react, or how they want us to react. The way that they talk about this, report on this, whatever. So he's yelling. At one point, he says, "I'm Senator Padilla," or something. He does say that at some point, but it's long into this process, at least from what I can tell. And he is pushing back against whoever this is, whether it's Secret Service or just law enforcement, FBI, whoever's up there. He's pushing back against them. He's then at one point tells them to get their hands off of him, which I find interesting, given he's the one that made initial contact by refusing to stop short of the point of physical contact with these folks. And they push him out of a side door. They get him turned backwards. Other officers, this is where I saw the gentleman with the FBI vest come over. They take him to the ground. Now, they didn't slam him or anything like that, but they take him to the ground. Put your hands behind your back. They cuffed him. They, probably wanted to make sure that he wasn't an immediate threat. He was not arrested or anything like that. Wasn't technically detained. I don't know the legal definitions of some of these things, but he was in handcuffs on the ground. And, of course, now the narrative is he was released and all that. Handcuffs were taken off. He wasn't taken to jail. None of that. Now the narrative has become the administration is acting authoritarian. This is dangerous because now, how do they explain this? Well, you can't even ask a question if you're a U.S. senator. That's how this is being spun. I'm reminded years ago, And this occurred to me as I was watching and listening to this silly nonsense before my eyes and ears. But I remember years ago when Barack Obama was giving a State of the Union address, someone stood up, someone stood up and said, "You lie," to President Obama. And the media did not like this. Oh, this was, unacceptable. This was, just a smack in the face. This was in 2000. When would this have been? 2009 is when I see a YouTube date on the video. So it could have been 2000. No, it was just a joint session, a speech before a joint session of Congress. This is the individual who did this was named Joe Wilson. He was a House of Representatives member from South Carolina's 2nd District. He was elected first in 1984, took office in 85, and he his last day in office was December of 2001. So he's no longer in Congress. But I remember he said, "You lie," when President Obama was on the stage giving a speech to a joint session of Congress, and the media did not like this. This was breaking protocol. This was disrespectful to the president. This was unacceptable. This was not statesmanlike. This was, Barack Obama was America's first black president. I'm sure there were people exploring whether or not this had racist motivations and all that sort of stuff. This was during Obama's speech about Obamacare. I'd forgotten this. I thought this was a State of the Union address. So I remember this. And I also remember it's just interesting to me when you see certain behavior, how the media immediately spins it. And it's remarkable to me how people don't see this. Now, I know you see this, or the vast majority of you see this, but some people take their cues on how to think about this from the media. Now, can you imagine if Barack Obama, let's say Barack Obama's head of DHS, like Kristi Noem is for Trump, or one of Obama's secretaries was giving a speech, and some Republican senator would have walked in and started yelling, walking towards the podium. This is factually what happened. This is not my opinion. This is what happened. You can see this on video, yelling questions, getting physical. He got physical. He's the one that closed the distance with the folks who were tasked with protecting the secretary from people in that crowd. And admittedly, it's a small crowd, but listen, I don't know how many, this president, and the president, the one who's leading the entire cabinet, this president has had an attempt on his life. This president has had 2 attempts on his life. To take this lightly at first would have been preposterous. Now, I'm going to play some of the clips of Senator Padilla out there making the media rounds. By the way, this is exactly what he wanted. The Democrats are getting trounced in every imaginable way. People are seeing the impact of Trump on the economy. Inflation is down really low, something that Biden was never going to be able to do because of the way he behaved and the way that he ran this country and the way that he had open borders and their spending policies and all this sort of stuff, things that led the government to spend more and more money. His policies were not going to impact inflation in a positive way, certainly in a negative way. The border would not be secured. These are things that are popular. Now, in fact, now even if you listen to the media, they talk as though having a secure border is, everybody agrees that we should. Well, then why didn't we? Why didn't we for 4 years? And now people will listen to that same media talk as though, hey, look, we should have a secure border. Everybody agrees on that. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. If they did, then why was it open for 4 years? Why was it an open border for 4 years? Why did the previous administration do nothing about it? Why were we assured and told by people in the administration that the border was secure when it clearly wasn't? Why did the media not have any interest whatsoever in the cognitive ability of Joseph Robinette bribery? Why did none of those things happen? Now they're just out there telling us, well, research, our research told us that Biden had more problems than we realized he had. They're writing books. They're trying to get rich off of you and people in this country from hiding stories from us when they actually would have mattered for us to know. And now they're talking about them as though, wow, we just didn't know it. But if we would have known it then, we would have told you. No, they wouldn't. What makes this nonsense possible, first and foremost, are political, political opportunists, these dramacrats. I think that's the best way to say it. That's a term that I came up with here years ago to describe the Democrats who are interested in theatrical performance. They are dramacrats. That is at the core of who they are. Not every Democrat is a dramacrat, although for those who are elected federally to federal office, I would say percentage-wise, it's a pretty darn good percentage of people who are dramacrats, who are engaged in this sort of nonsensical, dramatic behavior, political theater. And listen, I'm one who's open to some political theater. I think it's necessary. Folks, I have a talk show and podcast. I use hyperbole. I use things that help illustrate a point, never to deceive, but to nail home a point. I use metaphor. I use hyperbole, exaggeration, satire to try to communicate these important ideas. I think that that's a necessary component, and I welcome it from even our political opponents. But at least make it good. At least make it worth my time. At least make it something that connects with reality. Make no mistake about this. And if you don't hear me say anything else today, well, shame on you. Shame on you, I guess. Number one. But I would say this is what I would want you to take away from this. I have no doubt. I have no one who's told me this, no source that said this is what happened, but I know this and am as certain of this as I am of anything that happens in politics today. Now I can't tell you who all is included in the they group, but I can tell you it includes radical leftists. It includes Democratic leadership. They meet on a regular basis, and a lot of people are under the impression that they're meeting to figure out how do we make America a better place. No. Totally wrong way of thinking about this. They meet to figure out how to get a political advantage in the narrative. How do they stop Trump? How do they hopefully turn the American people back onto their morally bankrupt ideas and so forth? That's what they do. The number one job of these folks is to get elected and to get reelected, which includes fundraising, which I would say is, you could say is a part of that, but you're either looking at those as two things, raising money and getting elected and reelected, or however you want to break that down. But the next step of the in the process is to oppose conservative principles and values and the people who promote them, and to push your anti-God radical leftist agenda. That is who these folks are. And so that is communication. In that sense, I'm not in the business of politics, and nor do I ever care to be. I told someone this the other day. This is going to sound weird coming from me. I hate politics. I hate the minutia and some of the things that happen in our political system. It is not for me. I hate it. It makes me want to throw my guts up sometimes. But the ideas matter to me. The ideas matter to me. The thinking, the discussion of the larger issues, things like limited government, things like liberty, things like Americans being citizens and not subjects, things like the smallest minority is the minority of one, the individual, not minority groups, but individual people. We should fight vigorously to ensure that every person maintains their liberty, their God-given liberty, given, by the way, by God, not by our government, maybe acknowledged by our government or not acknowledged, but the gift itself is from our Creator. By the way, that's side note. I've heard people on CNN saying that that's a dangerous thing to say. Be ready for that to be one of the other things that they test in their messaging moving forward, something that's actually in our Declaration of Independence. But this message is all about, well, the message is central. Controlling the narrative is central. Making, basically creating the story and the reason and the explanation for everything that's happening in the world and in our country, and then explaining through the narrative how we need to address these different issues, challenges, and so forth. One of which, by the way, is Israel, which we'll get to, Israel and Iran, which we'll get to later in the program. But the main point is the message and the narrative. And make no mistake, and this is the most important takeaway, the Democrat leadership, the Democrat Party, the radical left, whoever it is that tries to steer and drive the narrative, they, as you know, they are feeling the heat, so to speak. They've had a series of losses. They have no leadership. They have no ideas. They're just the party of opposition. They planned this. This was orchestrated. This was not a grassroots sort of organic event. This was planned and orchestrated. They got from this exactly what they wanted to get from this. This is not serious. Senator Padilla is engaged in political theater. He is trying to deceive you. This is professional deception. I don't know how else to say this. This was not just Senator Padilla wanting to challenge Kristi Noem in an acceptable format, in a respectable way. This is not what it was at all. This was orchestrated. This was planned. This is what they wanted. Going to take a time out here in a moment, my friends. Before I do that, though, let me remind you, Red, White, and Brand is here to help you put your logo on almost anything. This is a new division, if you will, of the Todd Huff Show. I owned a company similar to this years ago, sold it when I started to grow this program. My non-compete on that expired a month or so ago. We relaunched the business, and we're here to help you put your logo on almost anything, whether you're at trade shows, whether you need company apparel, whether you need promotional products, anything that you need your logo on, my friends, Red, White, and Brand can help you with. RedWhiteandBrand.com is the website. Promo code Todd saves you 10% on the orders you place there, and you'll get free shipping to boot. RedWhiteandBrand.com. Promo code Todd saves you 10%. And you get free shipping on orders placed online. Quick time out, my friends. Back in just a minute.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Stop by Sherwin-Williams and get 30% off select paints and stains June 13th through the 23rd. It's the perfect time to transform your space with color. Refresh your home inside and out with colors that make every space feel brand new. From cozy interiors to stunning exteriors, we've got the perfect shade for your next project. Shop the sale online or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Welcome back, my friends. We're talking here about Senator Padilla and the poor political performance that he engaged in yesterday when he was interfering with the press conference being held by Kristi Noem. So, some of this is going to be hard for me because you're only going to listen. You can't see the entire thing here that's unfolding. But let's see. I'm going to try to find the best one to give you an idea of what was said, and I'll try to give you a little play-by-play as this is going on video. So I want to first play a clip. This is a close-up clip of Kristi Noem speaking at the podium. This is when, or shortly before, you'll hear him start making commotion here. Alex Padilla comes in yelling, trying to get the attention of the media, trying to make this into a spectacle. I want you to get the feel of what's happening at the moment that he feels it's appropriate to start yelling questions at Secretary Noem. And keep in mind, he's not sitting in a chair like the media is. He's walking towards the podium. Now, Kristi Noem, or I believe someone in the DHS or someone described this as him lunging at her. I didn't see what I would call him lunging at her, but he was absolutely approaching her. He was approaching her at the podium, and he was carrying on in a way that certainly required the attention of security to prevent him from advancing on Kristi Noem. You can't let this happen, especially in this political environment where the President of the United States had an attempt on his life a year ago, another attempt on his life even a little bit more recently than that, and given the political violence that's taken place regarding what she's talking about here, right? There's a lot of emotion here. There's a lot of laws that have been broken, a lot of violence that has been committed that she's trying to address and deal with. These people are behaving in ways that are out of control and completely outside of the rule of law, and it's being excused by some people like Senator Padilla, if I can be so bold as to say that. So, that being said, I just want you to listen, and you'll hear in the background a little bit of commotion, and that's him yelling. Now, I didn't put this together. This is ABC News. So I don't believe this is one continuous clip. I believe they've split it. I don't think there's any funny editing. It's just the timing isn't the same because they've condensed this for like a 30-second clip. So that being said, here's Kristi Noem when she's speaking at the podium just prior, right at the beginning of when Senator Alex Padilla carries on like a fool.
As our law enforcement officers have been assaulted, they've been pelted with rocks and bricks. Their cars have been set on fire. Molotov cocktails have been used. So I want to say thank you to every single person that has been able to do this. Also, I want to talk specifically to the rioters and to the politicians in Los Angeles.
Pushing going on. He's pushed out.
I also
the
want
exit.
to talk about specifically how many of our ICE agents have been doxxed for doing their duty.
She didn't really react. She paused a little bit, but she kept reading her statement or remarks and so forth. The people in the media turned their heads around, and the people, of course, tasked with protecting her, Kristi Noem, stepped in and were basically pushing him out the door. Now, you may have heard in that exchange that he did say, "I'm Senator Alex Padilla," which, okay, fine. But I could say, I'm Senator such and so too. It wasn't like he had credentials. It wasn't like he had permission to do what he did. He was acting in an unstable, unpredictable way, carrying on like a fool, might I add, approaching the podium. I don't fault the folks at all for stepping in and doing what they did. This is exactly what should have happened. He wants this to be, of course, something more than that. He wants this to be Trump demonstrating that he's authoritarian. In fact, that's what some of the things that have happened since then, that's the narrative. That's the direction that the media wants to take it. That being said, I don't play many clips. I don't think I've ever, I could have. I've been doing this for 10 years, so I could be mistaken. I don't believe I've ever played a clip from Stephen A. Smith. Maybe I have. I don't know. I find, well, I'm not a big guy that likes to listen to stuff where there's a lot of screaming and a lot of comments being made, big bodacious comments that are just ridiculous. And I kind of feel like that's what happens a lot of times with Stephen A. and with a lot of people, in fairness, in sports media. In fact, as a Pacers fan, I'm always intrigued by this. I'm intrigued by how these experts, there's so many teachable things from this Pacers series, which again, the Pacers can still lose. But how these experts are wrong all the time. They said Oklahoma City is going to thump this team. Pacers don't have a chance. They don't have a superstar. Basically, all the stuff they told us about this series has been completely wrong. Completely wrong. And now they want us to listen to them because they start to say the Pacers might have a chance. Maybe we were wrong. Maybe the Pacers have redefined the modern the way that basketball is played in the modern era, on and on, blah, blah, blah. Forgive me, I don't really care. I've been watching this myself and don't need your opinions to tell me what I've been witnessing. But all that said, I got Stephen A. Smith here, and Stephen A. Smith is, the reason I'm playing this is because, he's by no means a conservative. He's not a radical leftist, but he's a Democrat. He's a liberal. But even Stephen A. understands that what Alex Padilla did is completely and utterly inexcusable and that it's being blown way out of proportion. Here's what he has to say.
You have this senator, Alex Padilla. Can Kristi Noem speak? Could you have waited till she finished to ask your questions?
No.
To shout your questions? You are a senator, right? You couldn't wait? So that was just you out of control because you were just losing it, huh? You, a United States senator, couldn't compose yourself and let the head of Homeland Security finish her thoughts before you asked the question. Couldn't do that, huh? Couldn't do it, huh?
No, he couldn't do it. But Stephen A., you're missing the point. You're accepting the underlying premise as the main reason that he asked the question. He didn't ask the question to get an answer. He asked the question in the way he asked the question to elicit the response that he got, which is precisely what he wanted. They wanted these shenanigans. They got exactly, Senator Padilla, got exactly what he wanted. He wanted hands-on from people protecting her. He wanted media appearances where he would, I got one of them where he said he called his kids. Oh, I got to call my children. Oh, my goodness, my kids, what? They just were worried about dad. Give me a break. You got to be kidding me. This is not serious at all. They got what they wanted. He wasn't just anxious to ask a question and out of control. This was planned and orchestrated. They're out of control, all right, but it's not the out of control where their emotions take over. It's the out of control that they plan. It's the out of control that they try to orchestrate with the help of the media behind the scenes. This was intentional. This was planned. This was not an outburst of his emotions. They want you to think that, Stephen A. Don't fall for it. This is all political theater, and it's pretty bad on top of that. This is a joke. This guy is a clown with his behavior, Senator Padilla, and it's right there for anybody who cares to see it. So, more on this in the time that we have. I got to do this after the break, though. But friends, you're tired of spending your hard-earned money on businesses or at businesses who then take those profits, that money, and support leftist candidates and leftist causes, people like Senator Padilla. Well, that's exactly why we've created Freedom Marketplace. It's a free searchable directory of businesses that share your conservative principles, your conservative values. These are businesses that have vowed not to support these leftist candidates and causes. There's no login or strings attached on this site. It's free for you. Just good, patriotic businesses pushing in the same direction you are. Check it out today, freedommarketplace.net. That's freedommarketplace.net. Liberty and business for all, my friends. Quick time out. Back here in just a minute.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on chumbacasino.com. I looked over the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at chumbacasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's chumbacasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back, my friends. Last segment of this, the first hour today. Friday, yes, Game 4 of the Pacers Thunder is tonight. I'm excited. I know some of you don't want to hear it. I'm sorry, kind of not, because I just can't help it. They go up 3-1. I'm going to maybe lose my mind. So, anyway, I've been talking here about Senator Padilla. This is what they wanted. Stephen A. is right to criticize the behavior. This is being misrepresented all over the place out there. This is not just a guy who had a question and they said, arrest that man for asking a question. That is not what happened. That's what they want the low information voter to think. They think that this is a visible piece of evidence or proof of a authoritarian regime. Instead, what it is proof, it's evidence of a opposition party that's out of control. It's proof of an opposition party that is willing to do whatever it can to interfere with and to malign and to attack and to misrepresent what's actually happening in this administration. But it wasn't enough for the political theater. That's just when this whole thing started. Senator Padilla, was all over out there on media, in the media, I should say, being asked about just all sorts of... Actually, you know what I'm going to play first? I'm going to play a soundbite, and I'll get to his responses. It's probably going to be on the other side of the hour. This is the shortest segment. Lisa Murkowski, Republican. She was on a phone interview with CBS News. This is a very short clip, which is why I know I can get this in, and we'll see what else we get to from Alex Padilla in a moment. By the way, Kristi Noem, for those who are Democrats and who are confused about what a woman is, Kristi Noem is a woman. Something else that would have happened if Padilla was a Republican would be we would be reminded of Republicans, or we would be reminded of the narrative that Republicans have no respect for women. A woman is speaking. It's Alex Padilla here trying to mansplain to the woman. I mean, that's how this would be portrayed in the media. This wouldn't be statesmanlike. This would be a threat. We'd be hearing about how he was making aggressive moves towards the podium where a woman was speaking. Secret Service security stepped in to prevent this from happening. If he was a white man and not a Hispanic, we would be hearing about that. There's a white man who steps in between Padilla and Kristi Noem, which doesn't matter in the real world, but it matters for the narrative. If the If Padilla was white and the Secret Service agent or the law enforcement agent here who's stepping in were Hispanic or a minority, we'd be hearing about how white men were unstable and how that they are a threat and a menace to society, probably should be outlawed from being senators. This is the kind of stuff that I'm telling you, these radical leftists, this is how they talk about this stuff. But they get Lisa Murkowski on the phone, Senator, make-believe Republican from the state of Alaska, the beautiful, great state of Alaska. And she says that she's basically appalled by what she saw for some reason. Not as Senator Padilla, which is who I think people with sense would be appalled at. No. She's appalled at the behavior, I guess, of Secret Service, of law enforcement, whoever it was here that actually interfered, got him out of the building, secured the room, and then put him in handcuffs. Here's what she has to say.
I've seen that one clip. It's horrible.
Horrible.
It is shocking.
Shocking.
At every level.
At every level.
It's not the America I know.
Not the America she knows. Which part? What are you talking about? I mean, if you're insinuating, which she's not, but if you're insinuating that the senator was out of line, I'm in agreement. If you're insinuating that we have senators that are acting, well, closer and closer to the behavior of the rioters in the streets of Los Angeles, then I would agree. They're moving in that direction. But if you're suggesting that by securing a room, look, they didn't know. This guy pops up and starts yelling and advancing on the podium. These folks are trained to protect the people that they have been assigned to protect. And you have to secure that environment. And Senator Padilla gave them every reason to remove him from that room. Even when, if you watch the video, at first all the security or Secret Service did, or whoever this is, stood there just as a barrier, kind of like a wall. Walls work, so does physically impeding someone's progress to the podium. If he wasn't there, if no one was there, would he have gone all the way to the podium? Would Alex Padilla, senator from the People's Republic of California, gotten physical with Kristi Noem? I mean, where was this going to end? They did what they were supposed to do, and then they secured the room because they can't take any risk at this point. Look, there is nothing that they did wrong. Maybe you say, maybe, and I'm not to this point, but maybe you say, okay, you get him down. He's not fighting at that point. I don't want to say he was resisting, but he wasn't just rolling over either. There were attempts where his motion, his body movement was headed in the opposite direction that he was being, that the Secret Service or the law enforcement were moving him. Maybe you could say, maybe they shouldn't have cuffed him. I don't think so, but that's the best you could do. I got to go. STG.
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.